All right, we're the huge movie fanatics here, coming back to review Star Trek. This is Star Trek 2, right? It's not Part 2.
No, Star Trek 2.
Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Now, Khan was a character who was featured in what?
One episode. It was
of
a
the
space
original,
seed of the first season.
The first season. So that was that, and that's who Khan is. If anyone wonders. See, when I was a kid, I had never really necessarily seen Space Seed. I mean, I just, probably same for you. You because you rented 1 and 2 at the same time, so
so I hadn't seen.
You didn't know who the hell. But they kind of say.
Yeah, they do a really good summary.
Doesn't Chekhov say you butchered their crew and left them to die on the something? So Wrath of Khan is in a lot of ways, for a lot of people, Star Trek's Empire Strikes Back. Is that kind of correct? Mm-hmm. Where they just, oh boy, Wrath of Khan, and maybe you can help. Maybe he can make it. Maybe you can explain why it is, because for me it's not. I don't. Maybe I'll just hand it off to you, because I'm interested to see why Wrath of Khan is so.
When was the last time you saw it? Out of curiosity.
I don't know. I probably got the Blu-ray collection a year ago or something. I mean, I've seen it enough where I can remember it. It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. It's the one when they save the whales, right?
Yes.
No, I know what it is. I just want. I'm gonna hand it over to you and see where the love comes from, and then I can. Yeah.
Well, my dad, when I rented Star Trek, and he was like, "No, don't do it, don't do it."
The motion picture.
The motion picture. I also rented Star Trek 2, and after I watched the first movie, I was like, "I'm done. I did not want to even watch that."
And you were how old then?
14.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Just watch Wrath of Khan," and I was like, I really don't want to watch it. And he's like, just watch it. And then I looked at the runtime and I was like, oh, it's an hour shorter. Maybe I will give this a shot. So I put it in, and it hooked me right from the opening scene. Because
I gotta tell you, using the visual effects from the first movie and the opening scene is a big point. Loses points for me. Go ahead.
Really? The reason that they did it is because there was just so much stuff. There was no reason to go back and reshoot that.
Yeah, and they do it again in.
They do it in almost every franchise. Like they use the shot of the bird of prey blowing up
Generations,
from.
Yeah,
they
use
use
friend of mine. I told a friend of mine in that when it was in the theater that's from Star Trek 6. He's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Go ahead.
Anyway,
yes,
so
it is.
Wrath of Khan gripped me from the opening scene, and you got this.
The one the
what? Yeah, the training exercise. The Kobayashi Maru.
That is that.
That's the Kobayashi Maru, which you see in the new movie, which I was so happy to see in the new movie.
Because it had never been in anything. You've never seen Kirk doing it before, had you?
No.
That was huge. We'll get to that maybe next time.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Kobayashi Maru exercise, and the whole movie is based around this exercise. The whole philosophy of Kirk accepts no loss. There's never a no-win situation. He will win no matter what, and he doesn't even fathom that anything outside of victory will occur to him. And at the end of the movie, he's right. He wins, but it's at a cost, and that's the first time he's ever had to experience loss.
Oh, that's what people.
And that well, I mean. There's that. The movie is just insanely layered. It's really well put together, and it's just a fun movie. I mean, I showed this to a bunch of people who'd never seen it before, and after watching Star Trek 1, a lot of the people were like, oh, I'm not coming back. And I was like, please just come back. Please, please, please come back. So we watched the second movie, and people were crying at the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody was affected emotionally. And that's weird. When you think of Star Trek, the last thing you think of is emotion. Like, I mean, most people are like, oh, this is kind of fun, this is entertaining, this is philosophical, this makes me think, or something like that.
This is fascinating.
This is fascinating, but you're not affected emotionally. But this one really tugs at the heartstrings, especially at that ending. And the famous scene of him putting up his Vulcan symbol and then Kirk just putting his hand on it through the glass, like that seems to be the part that gets the people. And then when Kirk is trying to speak the eulogy at the funeral is fantastic as well. And everybody who says Shatner can't act, fuck you, he can. That scene is really hard to watch every single time. When he starts choking up and he says he was the most human, and his voice just cracks.
No, it doesn't. He was the most, and he goes,
human.
Human.
That part is really hard to watch. But I don't know. It's just there's something about it that it's just a fascinating adventure. You have this great gripping revenge story of Khan, who's like, you sent me down peacefully onto this planet, and you had to have known that this was going to happen. And within like 6 months or whatever, the other planet collided and with V26 or something like that. What was it? It was
LV-420.
No, it was City Alpha 5. That's what it was. This is City Alpha 5. Ricardo Montalban really helped this movie a lot. Do you think he's wearing a chest plate or not?
Well, no, they say that.
They say so in the commentary, but there are people who are just flat out like it doesn't move ever.
Oh, okay.
And like so, there are people who insist that it is a chest plate. There's people, and then the
chest
commentary,
plate.
They say it's not. I don't know. I can't tell. I saw it in the theater recently. It was
Where?
Last year. Last October they played it in the theater right before the digital conversion happened everywhere.
Where? What theater?
It was way the hell off. I can't even remember what it was. It was the last time, the second to last movie that they showed ever because they were losing all their film projections.
Okay.
Because they're in no theater anymore do they have film. It's all digital projection. So they were going to be losing...
Oh, I want to talk about that on the segment next time or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they...
Anyways,
this was going to be their second to last movie, and it was seeing it on the big screen. Like it looked real enough to me. Like
I'd say it's real.
Yeah, I think it's real. Anyway, I cannot give enough praise. I've watched this movie like 3 times this year. I see it multiple times a year. It's just a fantastic adventure film. The score is the best score out of any of the Star Trek movies, I'd say. James Horner really stepped it up. I love the, Khan theme.
How's it go?
Do?
Oh, those are the Horner horns?
Yeah. And then, I love just like the generic Enterprise theme for the movie. Like everything seems to be going for
What about, is that this one? Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun. See, the thing is with the series of the movies, they have different music.
Different music.
Sometimes 2 and 3 are Horner.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that's
a complaint about the franchise as a whole, but like.
But you're right.
I think this is the best.
James Horner music. Well, James Horner back in the day was just.
For my money, this is his best score ever.
Really?
Like, this is it.
Okay.
This is my number 1.
That it is really good.
And comparing this to like Spider-Man, which just came out.
Oh
like,
my
just
lord!
Like,
I know exactly. That's what I mean. Anyway.
But for my money, the score is great, the acting is great, the action was pretty intense. They did the submarine battle thing to the best of use of any of the Star Trek movies in this one. Man, it is great. And that final fight between Kirk and Khan, they never meet each other. They don't have a single frame together.
That great?
And he's the most like dastardly villain that you can think of out of the Star Trek franchise. Like he is it. And Kirk meets every other villain he encounters in all the other ones. He comes face to face with them at least in some level, and this one he didn't. And this is a guy that you remember. Oddly enough, though, if you watch the original Space Seed episode, he, like in the beginning of this, when he meets Chekhov, he's like, "But you, I never forget a face." Chekhov wasn't introduced till the 2nd season.
Great.
So they mentioned that in the commentary somewhere that they must have met on the way to the restroom at some point. But because Chekhov always would have been on the ship, we just didn't see him until season 2.
Ah.
So they must have just crossed paths. But anyway, so there are some inconsistencies with the episode it's based on, but the characters are right, and I love the fact that Kirk has aged. In this one, they're not trying to make him look young like they did awkwardly in the first movie.
Does he have that line in this one where he's. That is this one, isn't it? At the very end, how do you feel? I feel young.
Yeah. I like that he's given glasses in the beginning of the movie, and that plays a part in later ones. But he's given glasses, and when he's first talking to Khan, he has to look at something, and he just sort of turns away, and he puts on his glasses to read it, and then he takes them off again, and then and it's just little things like that. Like, you don't get that in these big kind of
Well, I
movies.
think that was, we didn't even mention his name, because I can't remember his name.
Nicholas Meyer.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of him. I think he's a generally smart kind of guy if you listen to the commentaries.
Oh, certainly.
A lot of those nuances and a lot of the greatness of the movie obviously is him. I think he's the big fan of what, literature and all that
Oh,
kind
certainly.
of shit.
A lot of Shakespeare in it. I'm a huge Shakespeare
So,
fan.
you know, that's a lot of the genius of it is him, and that's to his credit.
And he was involved with 3 of the biggest, the most popular Star Trek movies. He was involved with 2, 4, and 6. Those are considered to be the best of the bunch by the fan world. Whether or not you agree with them, it's another thing. But
it's another thing.
So anyway, I would give this movie an easy 4 stars. This is Star Trek at its best. There is no better Star Trek than this. There never will be a better Star Trek than this, probably. But I can say that pretty definitively now after, what, 30 years? This is the 30th anniversary. It came out in '82.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, so I'm willing to say that this is probably the best Star Trek gets.
Kirstie Alley, huh?
Kirstie Alley was great. Too bad they had to recast her.
Oh, why was that?
I think she was doing Cheers at the time, wasn't she?
I don't watch Cheers. I don't know.
I think she was doing Cheers.
So, what do you think? My turn?
Yeah.
So, don't worry, it's not that bad. I don't hate it. I don't know. I never actually watched this one. I didn't have this one, because when you're a kid, you don't have access to whatever you want like I do now. So because I had the first one taped off of TV, and I never had the second one taped off. I just rewatched the first one a lot when I was a kid. It's the only one I had. So I never really had this one until like 1991, when, you know, that was the big 25th anniversary of Star Trek, I think, and they put all them tapes out where 1 through 5, if you put them, the spines, I don't know.
Oh yeah, 1 through 6 where
no, it's actually 1 through 5.
Is it just 5?
Which is ironic because.
Oh, 91 was coming out in the theater that year.
Yeah. So Star Trek 6 was coming out in the theater, but the thing about Star Trek 6, the first tape, is it has the side part of the picture, so it's absolutely pathetic, where the Enterprise is completely lined up in 1 through 5, and then 6 has this side of the whatever, the red, the space, but it's lopsided. Fucking ridiculous. But so I didn't really see much of Wrath of Khan until '91 when I got the tape. And for me, it's good, and I can totally understand all your things. I mean, I'm going to go 3.5 stars. I guess the reason why I don't go 4 is just a lot of the, I don't know why. It just doesn't get to me like it gets to a lot of people, and like Empire Strikes Back gets to a lot of people. Some of the things like the worms and all this sci-fi-esque stuff, it's just kind of cheesy to me, like the worms they put in the helmet and they go in your ear and this kind of thing.
Wrap around your cerebral cortex and drive you insane. There are creatures on this Earth that are similar to that. So that's why I don't find it all that weird.
No, that's fine. The way they're portrayed, just never mind. We'll just forget about the worms.
I'm just saying.
No, I understand that. I guess just the way they're portrayed and the big ear and they built the big ear so the worm could just, I don't know, stuff.
Special effects, I have aged not.
I guess some of the visual effects, and for me, just because I'm an anal bastard, like I say at the beginning when they're doing the Kobayashi Maru, the shots of, you know, from the beginning of the motion picture with the Klingon ships was just, they lose points for me for that because I'm an asshole. And but they saved it. Obviously, they didn't want to waste any money that they didn't need to, because they spent a lot, obviously, on the visual effects for the end, which are, even by today's standards, I think are really cool. And
certainly.
What's the name of what are they in? Are they in some kind of a, what's that called that they're in? They're in a
nebula?
A nebula. Is there some kind of a, wasn't it named or something, like the John Nebula?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something. But that was really visually great as just being red and everything like that. And I think the visual effects, how they get the ships in there, look still pretty good.
Yeah.
And the visual effects at the end are great, and like you say, the kind of submarine or pirate
yeah,
ship.
You see them one over the other.
Wasn't that great? There's a top shot where one of the things way down there. What's the name of that ship? Excelsior?
Excelsior.
No. Excelsior is that other one that looks like the Enterprise. This ship shows up again in, or something like it shows up again in the third one. Hell, whatever. We can't. Some fans we can't remember. Whatever. But yeah, the ship's way down there and the Enterprise is right. You just imagine 3D of that. Maybe someday. Yeah, you might be able to get to see this again in the theater someday.
Yeah.
In 3D. But I mean, it's great. And definitely, like you say, the characters are back, and the huge thing, the huge big part of this movie and why it's so popular is obviously the ending, which is amazing, and the Spock saving him is good.
The only thing that hurts this movie is that they brought him back. If they had just left him dead, I think this movie would be...
Well, that is a problem, and it's one of my problems with, well, basically 3, which is all about bringing him back, and it's just, well, we'll get to that perhaps today. And I don't know, I guess to save time, I don't have too terribly much to say. It's a very, very good movie. It's a very, very good movie, and the characters are definitely more fleshed out and things like that. And I can't even remember much of, Bones and interacting. I mean, how much are they all together? Are they all together?
They're all together.
A lot?
And Bones and Spock have little battles, but mainly it's Bones and Kirk, and he uses them like he did in the show, like where he's like just bouncing off for wisdom kind of thing. Both Spock and McCoy, because he has the dual heads, the logic versus passion. And Kirk is very much somebody who falls in the middle of that, and I loved that.
That reminded me very quickly before we end that I forgot about motion picture. Remember where Bones would, like, every now and then he'd walk into the bridge, take a look, and walk out. Wasn't that funny? It's kind of like, DeForest, he's not in this much. We'll have him walk in and say, "Great Scott," or whatever he says.
Great Scott.
Good God, man. And then leave. But Star Trek Wrath of Khan, if you're done,
I'm
done.
It's phenomenal.
It's undeniably good, and there you go. Wrath of Khan. Live long and watch our reviews. Thanks for watching.